Space, the final frontier. Space Station Ashland sits on the edge of Federation space with its companion ship, the U.S.S. Dilamus Christian. The space around them is full of mystery and strange wonders, where secrets are kept and danger lurks around every corner. The crew of the Dilamus Christian must navigate treacherous waters as they work to protect the Federation. But as they peer into the unknown, they will discover that the line between friend and foe is not always clear. They will be tested like never before and will face challenges that will push them to their limits. Join us on this adventure as we explore the farthest reaches of space and uncover the hidden truths that lie within the shadows. Tabletop Journeys presents Star Trek: Preservations.
The Dilamus Christian has arrived at the Talarian colony of Dovrek 3 in response to an urgent request for assistance. The colony recently deployed an orbital solar shade to counteract extreme solar radiation, but something has gone wrong. Violent storms are tearing through the planet's atmosphere and local infrastructure is failing. If we do not act soon, the colony may not survive.
From the lab, the doctor will look towards Lieutenant Nealon, and she seems devastated. I've made this worse. Is there anything we can do to fix this?
Let's not focus on the past. Let's focus on fixing it. And I think that we can fix it, but we need to act fast.
Can you do me a favor and roll an presence command roll? Because the doctor is devastated, and for a person who's very focused and dedicated to what she does, the thought that her work could have been responsible for the deaths of those who've already perished and the problem that her planet is occurring is really holding her back. So what you're trying to do at this point is not shock, but just based on what you said, it's whether or not your words are going to resonate enough for her to carry on and be able to assist you properly at this point.
Absolutely. Can I use the momentum? We didn't spend all the momentum, right? We had...
Oh, no. You've got 6 total, and I should set that difficulty for you. Give me one moment. The difficulty at this point is going to be a 2. She's not shell-shocked. She's just, what did I do? What did I do? It's more like helping her focus on, hey, let's get to a solution here.
All right, you said it's a presence command?
Yep.
All right, so 2 successes, a 9 and a 3.
Excellent. All right. So with that, she shakes it off. She puts her hand on your shoulder and she says, thank you. The part of the Dacium research that they had not come to any real conclusions had to do with the frequency and calibration of the shielding within the shade, between those layers where you have an energy shield. I'm guessing that might be a good place to start. If it's collecting energy and it's doing that part well, it's probably sending through the wrong type of energy, which means we probably need to do some kind of fix for that.
That's really a good idea, Doctor.
We're like on the screen because Tanari and Dora are all up in the lab. I'm like, that is actually a really good idea. I agree with Lieutenant Nilon. Let's run some... Doctor, I don't know what computer simulation capabilities you have there. We're happy to run some of the computer modeling through the Dilamus Christian's computers and see if we get closer on the calibration of the shielding.
Lee, the previous shield modulations that we've done on the DC, would any of those modulation changes have any?
They could come into play. So what you've learned and what you've been able to do with shield modulation is basically make yourself almost mini subject matter experts on the ability to do so rapidly. So These types of fine manipulations would probably take any other Starfleet crew a lot of time and testing and whatnot. But I would say the Dilamus Christian is uniquely qualified to do these things on the fly. So as opposed to me increasing complications or increasing difficulty on any of these types of things, because of that work, you have the ability to do these things real time with what's going on, making
So
those
it's more the
adjustments.
process. It's more the process we figured out during that than the actual modifications.
Correct. Every situation will have its own modifications, but you are great at the process. So that's where your level of expertise is coming in here. All right. With that, the team on the ground, what would you like to do first? I should add that you have base data to work with. You have the proper theory as to what's going wrong. And there are probably two different things at this stage that would need to be done. One is figuring out the correct calibration, and two, making the adjustments on the transmitters and the control mechanisms to deliver those calibration changes.
Boris said that they could help us if we didn't have enough equipment. Is there gaps in what we have here that they could help with?
So you have all the right equipment. Your engineer on site has been looking at all of that. They don't have the best grasp of it right now. Whether or not they let that on or not, I'll leave that up to the engineer in question. But essentially, one is figuring out what the calibration is, and then two is the engineer making that happen. And then three, the last thing is somebody convincing Lennox to let you.
That's me.
Yeah.
That seems like a commander kind of task. All right, so I think that we want to approach the problem by getting the exact numbers that we need.
Okay. To get those calibrations, your difficulty would be a 4 naturally, but depending on who's assisting you, that would actually diminish. And I know if the DC is assisting based on the traits that were provided, that drops that to a 2 at a minimum. Am I correct in that assessment, or am I missing one of the traits that are helping you out here?
So we had the potent to sensor data trait, and then we had the potent to analytical evidence, right? The computer
Yep.
model.
Yep. And we are also at a -2 because the storm is a difficulty. So basically, that leaves this difficulty at 2.
And I assume it's a science roll for this?
Yes.
Okay. Can it be a bold science roll?
Absolutely. If you're trying to get the best but fastest, thinking outside the box kind of answer, that very easily could be a daring science.
So to engage bold, you would need to spend a threat to get an extra die.
Yeah,
Yes. And also I can re-roll a single die if I use bold, right?
that is correct.
Correct.
If you would like to go ahead and spend that threat.
How much threat is accumulated? You haven't used
Um,
it yet, have you, as far as
I have not had to because you gave me complications at the one point I was about to. 12, 13, 14 threat is what we're sitting on right now. If you spend it, we're at 13 now. If you would like to engage bold, we would go to 14.
I'm gonna go bold.
That's it. This is the Dilamus Christian. This is what we do here.
Like that the little devil on my shoulder.
Exactly. Who has an Ushan?
So I rolled actually quite good. So I rolled a 9, 6, and 4, which are all well underneath my, I assume it'd be reason science.
Yep.
But
And if you have an applicable focus, that 4 would be a critical.
I want to say that I did really poor focuses, so I was waiting for this. We talked about at a certain point I would be able to fix some of my focuses. I have big letters after like the first session we had that has stars and it says fix focuses. I didn't transfer them over for that reason.
Okay. What were your original foci?
They were astrophysics, virology, PPE gear development, xenobiology, forensic science, and then epsilon species detection.
Astrophysics would work here.
Sweet.
The epsilon species detection is a bonus one, so that doesn't count towards the 6.
Correct. That was a grant for narrative plot reasons.
So I feel like this has been the one struggle I've had in this game is the focuses. They're just really haunting me. But astrophysics, I do have that written down.
Excellent. So that would mean the 4 would count as a critical success, which would give you how many total successes?
4.
All right. With a difficulty of 2 for successes, you've got 2 momentum that you can spend for the immediate. It is at this point I will divulge a little bitty secret that I had not really divulged earlier, and that's a little weird because it didn't dawn on me until we were coming into this part of it that the extended challenge for stabilizing this problem, you were narratively handling just in your questions and what you were doing. And I had just been going along with that before I realized we're actually on the page where this is where the actual challenge had started. One of the reasons why I asked for Tanari's score was I went back and checked off all the right boxes on the work track here. So I will let everybody know where we are, and I will retroactively allow spends if that is something that you all would want to do, but I'll also let you know where we are. First of all, this particular challenge had a work track of 12. It originally had a difficulty of 4, and it had a resistance of 2. But because of some of the different things that happened, I've been working around that. We are currently at 7, and I did include getting the doctor to be able to help as part of this, by the way. That had no impact because your impact in that score was only a 2.
Now, real
But
quickly, because Nilan has the intense scrutiny talent, she ignores the resistance in the extended task. So
oh,
whenever,
so that would
whatever,
count.
yeah,
Yep,
so that would give her the +2,
2.
essentially.
Okay. All right. So that puts us at 5, 6, 7 out of 12. So you are actually at the 50% work track as this began. And
So that actually lines up with our narrative breakthrough.
yeah,
We've got the data, we've got the answers, we know what the problem is. Now it's fixing it, right?
exactly. And that's what triggered me. Oh my God, we're actually already in it. Very much proof that the extended challenge is much more narrative here. Y'all were doing it, and I didn't even realize we were doing it, and the numbers actually bear that out. That's freaking awesome. As far as like honestly, is could there be better than that? But I will say there was one thing written into this particular extended challenge is it is also after that breakthrough, the complication range does increase because this is where things get done wrong, i.e., a complication, you can overload the system. So your complication range is now going to extend to 18 to 20 moving forward on this task. But we are beyond the 50% mark. That said, you have 2 bonus momentum. However, you would like to spend that. If you want to use that to get an additional impact here, you could do that for 5, which would only leave you with 1 more on the track.
Actually, let's spend 4 for 2 impact and punch out the track.
Okay.
And so essentially, at least narratively, we have everything. We have this solution we've already, and we're just now, I'm taking to the administrator to be like, here's the plan to fix it.
I will say, even though I would have included his role within the work track to get this done, you're still going to have to actually physically do the manipulation. Basically, you have moved that piece, the on-site engineer, his piece will now be outside of the work track and just be a straightforward task because that was a critical part of this process. But as is your piece, which is no longer necessary on the work track, has been moved out, which is you got to get the authority to do so. With all of this information in, your storm is currently at a 2. I am going to spend 6 threat, which is 2 per the trait, to increase the storm to 3.
Hey, Lee,
Yes.
the Bajoran trait, Will of the Prophets.
Yeah, I
Every
know.
time I get a determination.
You're meant to be.
I should say I've had many of Bajorans played at my tables over the last couple of years of Star Trek Adventures, but the first player to really pull that out was actually at TotalCon this weekend. That player played the same Bajoran character. Yeah, so all 3 sessions for Star Trek I ran, and proud to say it was my 18-year-old son Quentin. I love it.
Can you just explain to me what just happened? The will of the prophets?
Dave, I'll let you take it away. It
Yeah,
is
it's It's the Bajoran racial trait. Essentially, whenever the game master spends 3 or more threat, a Bajoran character gains a point of determination.
Basically, they get better whenever crap gets more dangerous.
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty on point for your character, I think.
Yeah. And it's absolutely brilliant. And it is a game changer, as determination is supposed to be. It is a game changer. And I actually play a Bajoran in one of the games I've ever gotten the opportunity to play. It is one of the reasons why I like playing that.
I've been sitting here waiting for Lee to pull the trigger because I know he would at some point.
It was gonna happen.
Is that why you're encouraging me to add threat?
Pretty much. He had to make the pot real, real sweet, so I couldn't resist.
I plead the fifth.
That's also only one of the reasons that he likes to add to your pile of threat, though. Let's be real here.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So with that said, you have all the information. You have your team ready to engage in the pieces that they need to do. So basically, you've got Lieutenant Cam and Lieutenant Valeric at the lab. I'm assuming, Captain, that you want the scientist and your scientist to accompany you to present this information.
Yeah, I think it would be most persuasive. Yeah.
Okay, so we find ourselves about to leave the current act. We're going to move into Act 3. I will be removing one momentum at this stage, and we move into the next act. As the scene opens, we are in the office of Administrator Mavor, who is busy at that side desk that was in the office. His back is to you as you enter. Sitting in a chair at the main desk is Major Lennox, and there is one guard who's outside the door. When you beam down here, you are aware, because you got the update in between the last scene and now, that the storms have intensified. They are moving vulnerable personnel and non-critical personnel to different areas at this point for safety.
Yeah.
And you are with the administrator. And have you found a solution?
I think we have, sir. And I do the flick up onto the screen from the data pad and I walk them through. We all knew that part of this solar shade was based off of technology from the Dyson sphere, which is not necessarily the exact same stellar configuration as this star. And I walk them through the radiation is interacting with the shield and creating a secondary type of energy that had the unanticipated effect of causing the increased energy being pumped into the atmosphere, which is intensifying the storms. However, the doctor and my scientist and I all agree that if we make these modifications to the energy shield within the shade, it should significantly reduce and or even possibly eliminate the excess waste energy that is being unintentionally put into the ecosystem.
He is pondering your words. However, as you were speaking, Major Lennox consistently interrupts you, consistently asks you to re-explain and cite your sources, acknowledge who's giving you information, basically complicating the issue in such a way that I am spending 4 threat to increase the difficulty on the ensuing challenge of convincing the administrator to go along with your plan.
Ooh, do I get another determination?
There's only one per session. Great try,
Shucks.
though. Appreciate the effort. And Kim is still at the lab. So he basically is just making a mess. Your presentation would have been flawless. It would have been straight through. All the dots would have connected. But basically, Lennox argumentatively is inserting himself in, causing you to backtrack and re-explain, and shrouding the issue with bluster and bullshittery.
So
pseudoscience questions and things of that nature.
Yeah. So one of my values is lifetimes of experiences is not enough because the Tobor symbiote is 400 years old.
Yeah.
And this juvenile nonsense in the face of catastrophe that's going to cause people's lives, I want to complicate the scene, increase the scene difficulty in order to get a determination from it. Because I essentially, like after the 4th time, I just turned to him and you have no idea what you're talking about. Stop talking. Don't interrupt the grown-ups while we are trying to save people's lives.
The audience can't see the giddiness with which I just moved and the utter look of shock and awe that is among the cast. We're all like, he went there. By the way, exactly what I was looking for. The bait was laid. Everybody is kind of, oh, narratively speaking, that's just us as players, right? As just players, that was freaking awesome. Narratively speaking, Dr. Kalar looks shocked, like she doesn't know what to say in this moment. The administrator is taken aback. Yes, it will further complicate the scene. It will increase your complication. You will get said determination.
Which I will be spending on this roll.
And so a couple things. We need to determine how difficult the roll is going to be. It was going to be a difficulty of...
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does Tobor have Tanari and Ocean sort of on a call with him while this is going on? You know, just so that Tanari, because he knows all this, he's on the...
Yeah, you're all like on speaker for backup
Okay,
support
all right.
in case there's an engineering question that needs to be answered.
Okay.
So you're all probably in my ready room, you two.
Yeah.
And with Dorai as well.
Yeah, Ocean and all the ship people are in the ready room. The ground people are piped in because if the word says yes, you can do it, they got to pull that trigger literally and figuratively right away. So in this particular case,
And it's very
difficult-
clear for anyone who is present or listening to it, it's the putting the lives of innocent civilians in jeopardy by the obstinance is what finally got under Tobor's skin. Because the first question about what is this, and I was happy, and it was escalated. Now he's just doing it on purpose.
and yes, that is exactly what at one point it was legit questions, and it shifted into I'm being obstructive now because I don't want to. And so the difficulty here is a 4. The original complication range was a... Okay, so let me do the first adjustment that took place with the original difficulty is because we are at stage 3 of the storm, that gets a +3 difficulty. You already have a -2 and a -2 because of the other things involved. No, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And using determination in this case is going to create an extended complication range. So what was going to be an 18, 19, and 20, because of this, it's going to go to a 16 through 20.
Okay.
So that gives us 7 minus 4. We're at a 3 difficulty total.
All right. So I'll go my 2 dice, and I'll spend 3 momentum to buy 2 more dice.
Okay. I will at this point just mention that we have a total of 3 momentum, 4 general threat, but there are 2 major NPCs, the administrator and Major Lennox, who each have their own independent threat pools.
Okay. Conversely, Lee, do you want to do this as an opposed task?
Yes, I think I do. That's the short and accurate answer. Let me ask this question with this process. In this moment, you're trying to get the major to back down as you're giving your speech, so it's definitely going to be against him. He is going to spend 3 to buy 2 additional dice, giving him 3 total to roll. And the major is going to be using daring and security. He views the Federation increased involvement and success with the Federation saving the day as a threat to Talarian independence and progress, and a threat to the Talarian way of life. So for him, this is a security endeavor. His daring is 11 because the way in which he engaged was very bold, and his security is 5. So his target number is a 16, and his focus is intimidation.
Sounds good. And then you said you spent 3 threat to get 2 extra dice?
That is correct. I rolled a total of 3 dice.
If you spent
No,
3,
If I spent 3, that would only give me...
2 bonus dice. And he starts with 2.
That's right. Woo! And 16 was his target number. I have 1 critical and 3 additional successes.
All right, so my target number is 5.
Correct.
All right, so I myself will buy 2 extra dice with momentum, so the 3 momentum. So I've got
Okay.
4 dice. And one of my values, again, Starfleet is more than the uniform. I'm going to use that to spend one of the determination points as my diplomatic focus is, again, look, we're here to help. Our prime directive is non-interference in your culture's development. You asked us here. People have died and are dying, is my approach to it on the diplomatic focus side of things.
Sounds good.
Perfect. I've got 3, 5, 13, and 19. However, because I spent the point of determination, I'm going to take that die that's a 19 and I'm going to turn it to a 1 on how determination works in second edition.
Yep.
So I've got 3 criticals and a success for 7 successes.
All right. That gives you a total of 2 momentum back in the pool. You get the major to pipe down, but as part of that success, we are going to lessen that complication extension a bit as far as the role that you now have to make with the administrator.
Perfect. And then I will turn and do like, I apologize. That was when innocent lives are at risk. This is one of the things. I've lived so long that every life is valuable to me. My experience got the better of me. We must do this or evacuate the colony. There's no other choice. Here's the mathematical models. The storms will increase in frequency and severity until there is no possible way that any life can be sustained on this world. If we do not act now, we will lose our window of opportunity. And I'm going to have the doctor and Neelon break down the numbers.
Lieutenant Nealon, you'll be rolling the assist here when Joe makes his roll. Your difficulty is going to be 3. Your complication range is 17, 18, 19, 20.
So because we only have 2 momentum, and my bonus momentum for patience wouldn't have helped. So I will spend 1 threat and 2 momentum to get 2 extra dice for Tobor, and then I will spend, again, because lifetimes of experiences are not enough, I'm going to spend my second point of determination that I just earned through the complication on the roll. A 9, a 7, a 4, and an 18 that I'm going to turn into a 1. So I've got 2 criticals and 2 successes. So right now I'm at 6. I'm going to not risk anyone assisting me and leave it at that because we made it.
All right. With 6, your difficulty was 3. That gives you 3 momentum in the pool. The administrator stands tall, feeling bolstered by seeing your command of the situation, your determination to see this through for the benefit of his people, despite one of his people basically saying, we don't want your help here. And he's bolstered by that. Lieutenant, you certainly pick up on the fact that this is a person who was looking for the strength to stand up to Lennox. He didn't have it because he didn't feel he had backing. And seeing not only the evidence, but certainly the passion with which your crew and commander has delivered this information, he feels emboldened to say the words that he's about to say. Major Lennox, these people have come to the aid of our colony. Their government has come to the aid of our people. When the galaxy was in flames and we retreated and allowed evil to run rampant, watching neighbors be subjugated and destroyed, they were the ones who stood in the breach. I will no longer tolerate your disrespect of Starfleet and specifically of this crew. He hits a button on his desk. The door opens and he says, Lieutenant, the major has been relieved of command. You are now in charge. Please liaise with the Dilamus Christian and their security teams and provide whatever aid and comfort they require to accomplish the missions at hand. I also expect a full detachment of security forces to assist with any evacuation and medical needs. You are under their direction for the duration of this crisis. The major should be relieved of his sidearm and escorted to quarters where he will remain until a tribunal can be established. Should the major choose to question this, he will go in the stockade in chains and paraded in front of the people as an embarrassment to the uniform. Major, you can leave your post with some private semblance of shame and some public sense of dignity, or who you have proven to be will be known by all. Lieutenant, get him out of my office. Major takes his badge and his sidearm, which he does not pick up in a peaceful manner, looks around, almost like he's thinking about something, and then sets it all on the desk and walks away silently. The door closes. The administrator, once he's gone, turns and says, I'm ashamed I didn't make that decision earlier. Let's plan what we can do to get this problem fixed.
Thank you, Administrator. And what truly matters is you did make the right decision. And I applaud you for it.
The last step is going to be, now that you have the word, the engineering team making the physical adjustments on the equipment on site. And so that will be a Valaric. And Lieutenant Tenari, you would be able to add the assist in this case, as you would be basically able to provide some nuance or technical assistance here. The original difficulty was 4. It's going to be a 2 because of the. I'm sorry, it's a 0. I stand corrected. It is a 0.
But the storm is
the
potent.
storm is 3. So it is a 3. Correct. So it is a 3 difficulty and a complication range of 18 through 20 at this point. What would you like to roll to calibrate and transmit?
So I think this is going to be just straight up control engineering for him.
Okay.
Because it really is just adjusting devices and following a set of instructions. So for him, that would be a 12. Okay. What do we have for threaten?
For threat, you have 6, and for momentum, you have 3.
I'm gonna.
And
I'm gonna-
actually, Lee, because I have the patient from the previous one, I'm going to spend one of those 3 to create a trait to make this task 1 difficulty easier.
Okay, so difficulty 2 then.
All right, I'm gonna spend 1 momentum to get an extra die. And let's see, this would not fall under any of his focuses, so that becomes 1 success and 1 complication.
Okay,
All right, Tenari.
bring us home.
Okay, first of all, since we're doing this on the fly with the storm going on, daring engineering.
Sure thing.
And since we're also doing this on the fly, my improvisation focus.
Yeah.
All right. That's 2 successes.
Sweet. All right, that gives you a total of 3, thereby beating the difficulty. There is a complication on the roll. The complication is this: while you are able to properly calibrate things, it is not entirely perfect. You are able to save lives, no additional loss of life. There is some significant structural damage over time. This can be fine-tuned. The Talarian scientists, with general assistance from Starfleet, will be able to help. There is, however, the complication and political fallout from Lennox and his dismissal.
I made an enemy.
While you have certainly made friends of this particular colony, Lennox had a lot of supporters. It's why the administrator was not particularly willing to stand up against him without overwhelming evidence, because politically that could have been suicide in a fashion. So while reason and science won the day, and he found the courage to stand up and do the right thing in the last and emergency moments, lives were saved. There is fallout. Lennox isn't going to see any kind of prison. He's not going to be in any kind of major trouble. He's basically going to be a political adversary in the future. With that, we close the episode. The visual is the devices on the ground are turning. They all turn as you recalibrate from the science lab. The beam of information, which is really not a visual thing, but it's TV, so it looks visual, goes up and strikes the appropriate parts of the solar shade. It tilts ever so slightly. You see a mild change in the color of that energy field between the two levels of the solar shield, and the energy and radiation that comes down out of the shield on the lower end and reaches the planet, that coloring changes as well. And the storms very quickly subside with the aforementioned minor challenges. And as the crew is back aboard Dilamus Christian and turning away from the system, signing off with the administrator, there's this nice picture of the Dvorak star in the distance, almost looking like a sunset, as the captain of the Dilamus Christian says his thing to end the episode.
Mr. Luson, let's fly.